So I'll make a broader point, is that we've clearly got to stop this vile trade in smuggling people across the channel. And Labour's got a really detailed plan to do that. We're going to invest in a proper cross-border security force to really go after these gangs and smash these gangs. We're going to use terrorist-style laws to really go after them, because it's not working at the moment. I think since Rishi Sunak made his big promise, we've had 50,000 people cross the channel.
Since he became Prime Minister, it's been 50,000 people.
And we've got to fix this. We've got to go after these awful gangs who are smuggling people, and we've got a detailed plan to do that.
The Conservatives say the Rwanda plan actually is working even before it's coming to fruition, because it's acting as a deterrent. What is Labour's deterrent to people wanting to risk their lives in crossing the channel?
But it's not deterring people. Because
deterrent?
Because people are still crossing the channel.
Well, will you have a deterrent?
Well, yeah, because we're going to have a serious cross-border security force really going after these criminal gangs to smash them. We're going to use terrorist-style laws against them about how, controlling finances and stopping people from their movements if they're suspected of being involved in these criminal gangs. So we do have a plan to deal with this. The Rwanda plan, I'm afraid, is hugely expensive. I mean, it would be cheaper to put up people in the Ritz in Paris than this. It's hugely expensive. Millions of pounds have been spent. Actually, the Home Office have already gone over budget by billions of pounds. So because of these gimmicks. So we're going to have a detailed plan to go after these gangs.
I mean, would you rather put them up in the Ritz in Paris, at least it's not in Britain, as a lot of people would appreciate?
Well, look, one of the problems we've got is that they've got this huge backlog now in people whose asylum applications are just not processed.
Yeah, it's coming down, though. It's come down to 95,000, still a high number, but it's come down from where it was previously.
Still a huge number of people, and a lot of people are being put up in hotels costing millions of pounds a day. You've got to clear the backlog. You've got to process people's applications, which is what we've said we would do.
If you're in government, you may be dealing with a far-right French Prime Minister on all this. How's that going to work?
Well, look, I mean, I think there's another round of voting to go.
There is, but come on, all the figures suggest it's going to be the National Rally taking over the prime ministerial position in France.
Well, look, you'd expect me to say this. The election I'm focused on is the UK election.
Yeah.
But we're a progressive party, and we believe that tackling these problems around migration, or tackling the problems around global warming and climate change, problems around international security, you have to work internationally in those fronts. Now, European countries they've signed up to international agreements, they will follow international law. A government has to work with other governments across the world, but we'll always make the case for progressive values and working within international law.
I mean, you might do that, but other governments might feel differently. They may not want to subscribe to those international treaties. We've seen what Donald Trump did when he was president. He ignored some of those kind of things. And there's no reason to suspect that the French Prime Minister, should it be Jordan Bardella, couldn't just do the same thing.
Well, look, that's why it's important that if we are fortunate enough to form a government, we'll show leadership and make the case for progressive values on a world stage.
Friday morning, if the polls are to be believed, you are going to be in government. You are going to be Paymaster General. You're going to hold the purse strings in that team in the Exchequer. How are you going to make ends meet for the rest of us? Because I know you've said you're not going to put up VAT, income tax, national insurance, but you're going to have to find the money somewhere. Where are you going to look?
Yeah, but look, right, that's Friday morning, right? There's going to be an election on Thursday. And this is, as Alex Ferguson, I'm not a Man United fan, but there'll be plenty of Man United fans watching. This is like the squeaky bum time.
Well, England fans know what that means
England fans,
this morning.
And to continue then, that analogy, you play to the final whistle is blown, and there's an election on Thursday, and if people want to bring an end to the chaos, to the scandals from the partying in Number 10 to the insider gambling scandals, if people have had enough of being stuck on an NHS waiting list, if people have had enough of having their family finances hammered and paying more on their mortgage, they've got to come out and vote Labour on Thursday. Don't wake up. Don't switch on Sky News on Friday morning and hear that Rishi Sunak has been re-elected. If you don't want that, if you don't want that feeling in the pit of your stomach, come out and vote Labour on Thursday.
Well, actually, watch Sky News all Thursday night, because that's where you'll find the best election coverage going. This isn't football, though. This is people's lives. People are worried about the cost of living crisis. They want to hear, if they are Labour supporters, they want to hear more from you on what you're going to do to tackle it. At the moment, I know you'll talk about the manifesto, I know you'll talk about detail, but it's vibes. It's an idea. Where is the meat on the bones? What are people going to get? Because you could swing more undecided voters if you tell them a bit more about what's going to happen in a week's time?
You're right, there are a lot of undecided voters, a lot of people weighing up their options. But let me give you some meat. We're going to deliver 40,000 extra appointments in the National Health Service.
How are you going to pay for it?
By closing the non-dom tax loophole.
OK. It's a small amount of money that comes out, $2.5 billion, something like that.
Listen, if you're stuck on a waiting list waiting for a hip replacement or a knee replacement or a heart valve, a hernia, that's a big deal.
What else?
We're going to help young people get on the housing ladder by significant reforms to planning, so we build more homes.
How are you going to pay for those homes?
Well, we're going to do planning reform, which means that home building will be allowed to go ahead. It's blocked
building on the green belt.
Well, there's parts of the country which are basically a grey belt, and there's like disused, sort of old factories or petrol stations which are designated as green belt, and no building can go on them. That's crazy.
Okay.
We've got to reform that there.
What else?
If you've got children in primary school, there's going to be free breakfast clubs every morning at primary school. So not only will your children start school with breakfast, it will also allow you to drop your children off earlier and help you with childcare so you can get to work.
See, a lot of parents of school-aged kids would rather you spend that money on more teachers.
Well, we're going to recruit more teachers as well, 6,500.
How are you going to pay for all this?
Well,
I know you say it's fully costed, but this all adds up to a lot more than what you're saying you're going to raise in taxes, whether it be non-DOMs, whether it be VAT on private schools. You need more money than that.
Well, no, we think that... it's a tough decision to levy VAT on private schools, but we think that will raise well over £1 billion, which we can put into state schools, and that will recruit 6,500 more teachers for our schools. So our children are given the best start in life. And I think parents who've got teenagers will understand this point. I mean, so many children now are really suffering from mental health issues, low-level anxieties, depression, stress. We're going to recruit and invest in a proper mental health service in schools as well.
OK, a little change of tack here. Word reaches me that you've been singing on TV this morning, and apparently singing along to Engelbert Humperdinck, which is way before my time. Can you explain yourself? And if you want to, feel free to give us a quick burst here on Sky News, then go for it.
Well, Ed Balls, on one of your rival broadcasters, apparently suggested...
Never heard of him.
But apparently suggested that on his sort of ideal political night out, that he suggested that I would be part of it for the karaoke singing. And he said I was a Frank Sinatra singer. And I actually pointed out that I would sing Engelbert Humperdinck, Leicester's finest Engelbert Humperdinck, and he tempted me into a rendition. But I have probably done enough singing for one day. I think my singing means that, sadly, I will not be playing on the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury next year. I can guarantee you that.
To be honest, you may have better luck with the sound than Shania Twain and Cyndi Lauper did over the weekend. Which Engelbert song was it? I'm not sure I'm familiar with his oof.
Quando, quando, quando.
Yes. Yeah, that does ring a bell, actually. OK, well, maybe we... Look, if you do win, you might want to celebrate with a blast of that. Jonathan Ashworth, thank you very much indeed.